You're listening to the Southampton Delivery Podcast, a podcast dedicated to the Southampton Football Club and all of the SFC fans.
We just got to go out and express ourselves.
Fonte with a scooping header, it's 2-0!
We just got to get the job done. I'm here to get the job done.
Подача, Остин все-таки забил.
It's infield to Mane, 25 yards out. Lovely ball for Pella. Onside, 1-0. Buffon shot. Oh my word!
Unbelievable. He ran around the pitch like Bambi on ice. It was very, very embarrassing to watch.
And now, your host, Matt Markstone. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Southampton Delivery Podcast, a podcast dedicated to the Southampton Football Club and all of the SFC fans. My name is Matt Markstone. I'm the host of the show. No matter where you are, no matter how you may be listening, whether this is your first time or you've been here before, thank you for making the show a part of your day. I hope that you enjoy it. My voice is a little bit hoarse, partially from being sick over the past week and still suffering a bit, partially from spending last night, Sunday night, well, I guess you're going to hear this on Tuesday. So Sunday night, October 28th at Game 5 of the World Series between the visiting Boston Red Sox and the home Los Angeles Dodgers, where the Boston Red Sox took the series by a final count of 4-1. And I had the opportunity to be there with my brother, who's a Red Sox fan, but more importantly, with my son and my dad, who are Dodger fans. My dad's been a Dodger fan his entire life. He's my dad. We spent a lot of time at Dodger Stadium growing up, and baseball was a big part of our life. And to be able to share that moment with him at this point in his life and my life was really something that I never thought was going to be able to happen. I never thought that was even a possibility. And the fact that we got to do it made it already a special day, and it didn't look like it was going to happen for a number of reasons, and all of that was kind of going on in my head as we were recording the podcast with Conor Dunford, who writes for Prost Amerika, Prost Amerika Soccer, prostamerica.com, and Conor also hosts the Playmakers FC Podcast. But as he and I were talking on Saturday, kind of directly following the game, the draw against Newcastle, we hadn't heard the news, obviously, that is on everybody's mind at this point. But I had a lot of things on my mind, and obviously the game didn't help. But as the time went on, between the time that we recorded that podcast and the time that I'm sitting here recording the intro now on Monday evening, 9 p.m. Western time or Pacific time, I'm sorry. A lot has changed. It's just in terms of how lucky I feel that I am to be able to have shared that time with my son and my dad and my brother, because the reminders of the fact that life is short and can end unexpectedly and tragically, and that just, I don't know, that's on my mind. And so this is not obviously the normal kind of intro to the show, but when you hear the conversation with Conor, you'll hear we're kind of upset. I'm upset. I wasn't having a good day. Wasn't happy with the performance. There was a lot of things going on, but and you try not to let that kind of creep into the recording. You try to be professional and all that stuff, but sometimes things just don't go your way. And then the one thing that you want to go your way, the one thing that you kind of go to escape, kind of all that other stuff, lets you down too. And that was the case with the Saints performance I felt, on Saturday. So I am not sure if that's a good introduction to the conversation we're going to have. It's not that melancholy, but Conor and I, we talk about the game. It's difficult to come up with excuses for the club at this point. It's difficult to come up with ways to talk about what's going on the field, because it seems like it's the same thing each and every week. But we do our best, and we talk about other stuff. And I also learned what fancy dress means, because apparently that's a thing. So stick around for that. That's towards the end. But anyway, Conor and I, you can find Conor's writing, like I said, at prostamerica.com. The links to all of those things are in the show notes. And we actually reference a specific article towards the end of the show. And that article or that piece is in the show notes as well. So be sure to check that out. This is Conor Dunford. You can find him on Twitter at Conor Dunford1. Check out his writing. Check out Playmakers. It's at _Playmakers FC. Yeah, I think we're done here. Sorry for the long intro. Thanks for listening. I appreciate it. Talk to you later. I'd like to welcome back to the Southampton Delivery Podcast, Conor Dunford. You can find him on Twitter at Conor Dunford1. And in addition to being involved with just being a fan and all that stuff, he also runs the Playmakers Podcast, which is at _Playmakers FC on Twitter. You can also find his writing over at Pro Soccer, and the links to all of those things are in the show notes. And Conor, how's it going now that you're back home after a, I don't know, whatever that was today?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Yeah, I'm warm. I'm warm after sitting in the freezing cold for 90 minutes watching absolute tripe, to put it politely, if I'm honest.
I mean, yeah, I just be honest. Like we're recording this just a few hours after it's concluded, and I know the intention is always to be kind of like objective and positive and you know, but it was hard. It's hard to, I don't even know, you know, right now. Like I haven't had enough time. I just wanted to go to sleep after the game was over, and I couldn't because it was, you know, 9 a.m. and I had stuff to do. But, you know, I guess we'll just kind of work through it. But I'm glad you're doing all right. I'm glad you're warm now. It looked freezing, and I think I saw somebody post it was like 7 degrees just before kickoff. So that seems cold. It's 80 degrees where I'm at, and that's Fahrenheit, of course. So we're switching because I can't do the conversion in my head. But it's nice here, and I apologize to you for that.
That's fine. It's only getting worse from here on out. We've got 4 months of this. This is Under Armour glove weather.
Yeah,
it is approaching.
Yeah, well, I noticed. You know, you could see some of the guys this week switch to people are wearing pants during training and stuff like that. Everybody's got a jacket on, so it doesn't look warm. And I don't envy you, and I don't know how you live there, and I don't even want to wear pants ever. So I don't know how you guys do it, but I mean, for those of us that are not familiar, for those listeners who are not familiar, what is Playmakers, and kind of give us a little rundown of what goes on there and how the show looks and where they can find it and stuff like that.
So last year it was under the name Post Football. We did the website as well along with that. We decided to knock that on the head and come up with a new name because it was the first year and you learn a lot, you make a lot of mistakes, and it just felt easy to start fresh going into it with the experience we had. So yeah, it's a weekly podcast at the moment, soon to be bi-weekly is the word? 2 a week.
Yeah.
It's going to be 2 a week. Going to have a Premier League review, which we do every Sunday evening. And then a European / EFL, whatever's going on midweek. That will incorporate people from other podcasts, which I talk to. I've got a hold of. We also do a bit of YouTube stuff. The reason it's got the FC at the end is because it's a cheesy play on the collective of a football club. I've got people that aren't involved with the podcast that provide video content and audio content, which we put on the various platforms and stuff. Some of you may have seen the Liverpool Red Star Belgrade, preview and review done by Ben, a Southampton uni student who now lives in Carlisle. But yeah, we're on iTunes, we're on Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, you name it. I'll just pump it everywhere I can. Yeah,
I can get in line with that. I know how that feels. Seems like every Tuesday morning, it's just like, here we go. Just make sure it's everywhere. But yeah, so I mean, I've been a listener for a long time. I was there when you guys made the kind of changeover, and I don't know. So anybody who's not kind of familiar with it, check it out, especially if it's it's a good look at a lot of different things. So I think it's kind of important, and it stays away from, maybe you're not a mainstream maybe you don't like The Guardian or the Totally Football Show or whatever it is. So that's, you have that other perspective. So, and you also do a bit of writing, and you're doing writing for Pro Soccer. I don't know if you're writing anywhere else, but I know you're writing there. And how is that going? And what's that experience been like just in recent weeks?
Yeah, no, that's been really good. Obviously, I've had previous with Saints Marchand, who were very good to me for the time I was there. Then went off to do Post to Post. That was too much work for me because I'm pretty lazy. And during that time, I met a man called Steve Clare just through kind of reading each other's stuff. We worked together a little bit, and then when I knocked Post to Post on the head, he approached me asking if I wanted to be the South Coast correspondent for them. And they're a fairly big site. They got a lot of writers. They get media access to Premier League games, Championship games, and a lot over on the US side. They have photographers for nearly every MLS game. But they're very good, very varied. Another Saints fan, which some of you may know, Jacob Tanswell. I've managed to get him on board as well, so you'll start to see some of his stuff on there. But yeah, the people involved tend not to support the Big Six, which is very beneficial because it's more interesting content because everyone has the top six.
Right.
So it's a bit more varied. Obviously, there is top six content because it gets the views. And if you, like I think it was Martin Samuel who said you can fill a website full of Manchester United content and you'll make money. That's just the nature of the beast. I mean, I do Saints, Bournemouth, Brighton. Going to start doing Reading and the foes down the road. You can check it out. You can check it out on my Twitter timeline and prostamerica.com if you want to have a little ganders at that.
Yeah, I can say that Steve's been great because he's, I've worked with him a little bit and, written a couple of things, and not a particularly good writer, don't really enjoy writing. Every once in a while, it's actually, sometimes it's easier to write something than it is to work it out on the podcast because it doesn't quite fit the format of this show. But yeah, sometimes it's nice to be able to do that. And Steve's always been super helpful. So yeah, so I hope that continues to go well for you. Unfortunately though, I don't know what happened today. I thought, I know you guys applied to do the press box and they said no. So,
oversubscribed apparently. Tottenham
has Prost in there. I know a bunch of the other clubs have him, but I can't imagine, we always talk about the lack of coverage for Southampton. And I don't know if this is me just talking about things I don't understand, and maybe the Adams, I guess, would have a little bit more kind of insight in this, but I can't imagine that that there's a ton of people beating down the door to sit in the press box there,
We'll watch Southampton Newcastle as well. I'm not being funny, but we're hardly the most attractive teams in the league at the moment, are we?
No, I mean, it wasn't on TV today down there. So you're not going to get a ton of press coverage. And granted, somebody has to say something because it's a potential, early relegation 6-point or whatever you want to call it. But like, I don't know. I want to say that on the Total Saints podcast, Adam says all the time that there's not a ton of national coverage down there. And so you would think that they want somebody in there to provide the coverage, they would do it. But I don't know, whatever. So
it is what it is.
Yeah, it is. But I hope they change that policy. And I don't know if you going down to Portsmouth will help or hinder you getting in there, but we'll see.
Depends what I say.
Yeah. You just big up that goal we had earlier, or who was it? Hesketh that scored that goal this week.
Yeah, for Burton Albion.
Yeah, just keep replaying that, keep writing stuff on that over and over and over. Anyway, but yeah, so I'm glad the writing and stuff's going well. It's got to be going better than the season we're having. So I don't know. Let's just start with the lineup, and I'll be honest, I didn't wake up super early this morning. I got up about 5:45, so about 15 minutes before the lineup is released. And as soon as it came out, one thing jumps off the page to me, and I'm sure it did this to you, is the fact that there's no Højbjerg, not in the subs bench, not in the lineup. Had to be an injury or an illness. Turns out to be an illness. But looking at the rest of that lineup, was anything else a shock to you, or would you like to have seen anything else different?
Well, as people who read my Twitter timeline will know, I'm not the biggest fan of our number 10, Charlie Austin. So I kind of disappointed to see him in there, especially because I think it was Adam Blackmore pointed out today that we haven't scored since the Ings-Long partnership was broken up. And I mean, we're not blessed with fantastic striking options, but for me, personally, and this is my personal view, I understand others will disagree, Long and Ings are my preferred pairing. And yeah, like you said, Højbjerg missed out, which again, this last week I was critical of Lamina after the Bournemouth game, so I was hoping to see him be the one miss out for Romeu, because I just think Romeu makes us a more solid team. But so be it. Højbjerg misses out, but Lamina didn't disappoint today, if I'm perfectly honest.
No, I mean, I think more pressure is heaped on his shoulders to be somewhat creative and drive us forward, because that's what Højbjerg does, and Romeu definitely doesn't bring that to the team, you know? But I definitely think that we were missing Højbjerg's, I don't know, just the way that he's able to bring the ball forward and find those passes, and we just didn't seem to have it quite enough today. But I think that, you know, I put out that piece on Wesley Hoot earlier this week, or that graphic, you know, just because I feel like we pick on players so much and so often, and I want to be sure that I'm giving them a fair shot when I am criticizing them, you know, and I haven't figured out what's going on up front. It's obviously not working. The movement doesn't seem to be there. It doesn't seem like they're linking up very well. And I'm talking specifically Ings and Austin. And if one of those guys is going to make way, it has to be Austin. To me, there's no way you could argue that Ings is the guy that has to make way, or that Austin is I think earning a spot there. But we'll kind of see how that goes off. And then of course when Gabbiadini came in, I'm not sure he impressed all that much either. He had a couple wayward shots, but we'll get there. I don't know. We talked last week that maybe a formation change, maybe a 4-2-3-1, so you can get Armstrong in there, because the other striking options just aren't kind of getting it done. Maybe that's the way you go with it. And so you can have Redmond and Elyounoussi, and you can have Armstrong, and maybe that gives you a little bit more, but I don't know. I'm not a manager, so we'll just move on from there. But
we're all managers. All us fans are managers from the sidelines.
Yeah, if you read Twitter.
It's what we like to think, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's fair. I think that's fine. Like, everybody gets an opinion. I say that, and then I read some people's opinion, and I'm just like, wow, that's amazing. You know, I saw somebody out there with had us playing like a 4-4-2, but like a diamond, and like, just like there was no width there. There was nothing. It was like, no, you're not doing that. You know, like that's not going to work. But then again, everybody had 100% chemistry. He built it on FIFA, so he had 100% chemistry. So I guess that's what you want.
I bet he didn't have Mark Hughes as a manager in the top left corner, though, did he?
No. No, you got anybody. I get a bronze guy up there. Doesn't matter. But I mean, aside from that, like I think just about anybody we put out there should be able to beat this Newcastle team. You know, like, this needed to be 3 points, not because we haven't gotten a win at home in so long or anything else. It's just, this is Newcastle, and they are struggling, and we needed to pick these points up, and we didn't. And that is, I don't know what I don't want to say depressing, but it is a little bit, you know?
It is. I mean, I think I'm giving Newcastle praise when I say they're rubbish, because they're worse than that. I mean, they were awful today. They offered absolutely nothing. And especially the first half, we were absolutely dominant, and they just completely dominant. They had Yoshinori Muto up front. It was causing a few problems. Yedlin is just absolutely rapid, but can't control the ball to save his life. So that was
typical American. Great athlete. Doesn't have the technical skills, maybe.
So that kind of was a saving grace for us. But other than that, we should have been clear by half time. Clear, like miles clear as well. I mean, they just, and John Joe Shelby, I've got a Newcastle friend, a friend who's a Newcastle fan. And I said to him, I was very disappointed, because he's meant to be this architect of football. All he did was lump it over the top. And I mean, and to be fair, you've mentioned Hoot earlier, and I also was on the Hoot defensive this week. Just giving him a bit of praise he deserves. And again today, I think he didn't do much wrong. He goes through his little emotional phases where he makes rash challenges, trying desperately to impress. But that's what happens when you get abused 24/7 online, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. other weird Hoot news. I'm pretty sure his mom liked the post, which is awkward. It's a mom or an aunt or somebody, he follows her. She's private. She's got like 24 other followers. Like, I don't know what's going on, but like, I was just like, what is this? This is a weird notification to get, but good. Thank you to whoever. She's definitely not listening to this, but there, I thought there were a couple of times where he tried to recover, and sometimes I think he just looks clumsy, because he's so lanky and stuff like that. But I think when he made mistakes today, he recovered. I think there was one chance where he kind of let the ball get away from him or let somebody by him, but the cross came to nothing. So, we get away with it, but who knows? I think he did well enough today outside of that. And I'm totally happy to let him and Stevens continue to work together if they're going to be able to do that, because they seem to actually have a partnership and have an understanding. Whereas before it was just two guys playing center back together,
Yeah, this is I think that was my big issue with the Vestergaard-Hoot partnership, is that they're both very similar in terms of the way they defend. They both want to win that first ball and they want to win it hard. Whereas I think Stevens is a bit more cautious. He's a bit more, I'll let Hoot win the first one and I'll mop up.
Yeah.
And that's just Sunday League, that is, and it works. It's complementing each other and letting one person do one job while you do the other, rather than two brute force centre backs.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know, man. Like, let's work through the game. We got kind of a lot of questions, and I put together some stuff on the first 10 games for Hughes and Pellegrino, which I'm sure 5 million people will do between now and the time this comes out, but we'll talk about it anyway because I'm proud of it. But I mean, to start the game, obviously everybody, there's a lot of pressure on the team. Just we've talked about it before, just the lack of wins at home over recent weeks or months, or I guess it's a year now. The lack of goals and the coming into this in 4 games with nothing. The fact that we're playing another team that's near the bottom of the table or at the bottom of the table to start. I don't think they are right now because they got that point against us, which we'll talk about. But I mean, early on, we just had a ton of possession. Like it was clear we were going to come out and just kind of dominate early. And from what I saw, were Saints coming towards you in the first half or going away from you in the first half?
First half, they were away from me. Yeah, they were going towards the away fans in the first half. So the position I was sat quite low down, and it's really hard to get a sense of like depth in perception. I can't quite work out what's going on. If you know what I mean. I see people running through, and I'm like, you could have got that, but in reality, there was no space at all. So It's quite difficult to watch a game from that kind of angle, and from when your team's playing away from you, especially.
Yeah. That's when it would have been nice to be in the press box. I'm just going to keep saying that.
It would have, yeah. A nice bird's eye view would have been fantastic. But yeah, and I see that, there was the chance for, is it Lamina hit the post?
Yeah, he hit the post through a nice passage. But, even before that, right away, it looked like Bertrand kind of mishit a shot after a ball that came out. And if Elyounoussi just squares it, because Bertrand kind of mishits it so badly, it just kind of falls to Elyounoussi, who has a tight angle with the goalkeeper, or he can square it to, I think it's Ings, who is onside and standing in front of an open goal. And I just think that's the moment of composure that we're lacking. Nobody's scored for so long, so everybody's trying to do it, and everybody's trying to make it, not necessarily about them, but they're just trying to make sure it happens. And we're just not playing, this is the easy cross that all you have to do is roll it across the 6-yard box and it's a goal. And then who knows? Then Newcastle have to come out a little bit and it leaves them open and exposed. And then we can kind of like, go play football a little bit. But it was right away, like that changes the game for me. And I didn't want to, it's too early, I think, 1 in the morning and 2 in the match for me to kind of like sink into my chair and go like, come on guys, like what are you doing? But like really that's a moment where we have to do better, I think.
Yeah, I think like you said, everyone wants to score, and not for personal glory, but because everyone's aware of the issue. And it's just clouded judgment because you see an opportunity and you think, oh, I'll take it, rather than, is there a better one? It's like, oh no, this is the chance. Whereas, like you say, all you had to do is easy little ball to the left, and you'd like to think it would be a goal, but the way it's going, it's not guaranteed, even if it is an open goal. But yeah, I mean, sorry, Karen.
I was just saying, like, and maybe this is one of those things where, you know, I think of Liverpool's front three, and they've gotten criticism in recent weeks for not maybe scoring, and I know that they did a ton of that today, and they did plenty of that midweek. But prior to that, there was some criticism for them not kind of getting on the score sheet and not doing enough. But if you watch them play, they are always aware of where the other two are. They're aware of their surroundings, and they always look like they're switched on. And it looks like, you know, as Bertrand takes the shot, like we're just not. Everybody's not aware of all of the possible things that could happen and what I'm going to do if I get the ball. You know, it's like once it fell to Elyounoussi, it's like now, I haven't scored in a while, or I haven't scored at all for Saints actually during the season. I'm going to shoot. And it's like, you know, had he been aware of where Ings was and all this stuff, like this is different. And we just don't look like we have that kind of cohesion yet. And I don't know if it's confidence. I don't know what it is, but it's frustrating at times. And I don't know how to fix it. And of course, sitting here where I am, I don't think I should worry about that. I just hope that we do fix it so we can, you know, win some damn games.
I think I know Mark Hughes came out in the week and said we just need a bit of luck. That's a very kind of a cop-out thing to say, but to a degree, I think he's right. We just need one of our players to just get that lucky goal. It bounce off a knee, bounce off a chin, bounce off his arse. Who cares? Just a goal to relax everyone. And because I think if we were 1-0 up when that opportunity came to Elyounoussi, he wouldn't have tried to kind of daintily chip it over the keeper. He would have levered that in.
Yeah.
But it's just, it's that 50-50, don't know what to do. And it's really playing on everyone's mind, I think.
Going along with that, I guess, there weren't a ton of other things that happened. At one point, we kind of worked the ball nicely. The defense looked comfortable pretty much for most of the first half. There was one time where we kind of switched it over and got it over to Redmond, who was in space, and he could have either played Ings in again, or he could have taken the shot. He chose to take the shot. It was high. It was always going to be high the way he hit it, but it led to, I guess, us creating some chances and actually like playing some nice passages of football and having moments where we looked pretty good. But then we did some things like I thought Romeu today gave the ball away far too often. I thought the foul he committed on Perez or Iosi a couple like 9 or 10 minutes in was just kind of clumsy and not necessary. And I don't know, like through that, like other than that, I don't remember a whole lot happening during the first 30 minutes. I know I tweeted a picture of I don't know, on our coverage here, we get across the bottom of the screen that has kind of all the major events of the half on there. And 30 minutes in, literally the only thing it had on there was start of the half. Like that was it. And so I just like, these are the highlights. And this is exactly how the game's going. We had a couple shots, but nothing crazy, nothing to write home about. I think the late on the chance for Lamina came towards the end of the half, where he hits the post. And like you said, if there is some luck, if that goes in, that's maybe what we need, but it's just not happening for us right now.
No, I think with the Romeu thing, it's probably a bit of ring rust because he's not been getting a lot of minutes at all. But as we go through the game, I think, and as the game went on, he grew into it more. It was the Romeu we all know. He's not spectacular, but he just does things that help everyone else. Like he's an absolute ox on the ball. He was surrounded by. It was his own mistake to be surrounded by 3 players on the edge of the pitch, but he was clever enough to keep hold of it long enough to wait for players to come back before kicking it out for a throw-in. It's just little things like that. I think he's a lot more of an intelligent player defensively than Lamina is, and that's probably why I prefer him, to be honest.
Yeah. I think that my normal argument would be that Lamina gives us a better chance to score, but that hasn't happened. So my argument is gone. I want to say that we had a lot of joy today, kind of when we were able to get that big switch over to one of the wingers, and I think most of the time it was Elyounoussi, who found himself kind of open, and at one point he cut in, kind of what you would want to see. He cut in, he got it on his right foot, tried to curl it around, it was well wide, and that was it. And I think other than that, like the best chance of the half came right at the end. Once again, it's going away from you. But it was Stevens who got to a header and headed the ball down. It was a good header, and Dubravka just made a good save. And that was kind of the best chance that we had, I think, of the entire half.
Yeah, I think Elyounoussi is probably the best he's looked for us so far today. I think he was a lot more of a threat, because before he's been more industrious. He hasn't had much of the ball going forward. He's been probably more effective tracking back, which is not what we bought him for. But yeah, he was the first half. Everything was down his side, really. I mean, Cedric and Redmond just couldn't work together for some strange reason.
And I think that's been one of those things is all of a sudden, Elyounoussi plays on the left for Norway. I think his normal position is on the left. And I think now, or today, for the most part, he was on the left with Bertrand instead of being kind of on the right, or maybe switching time between the two. So maybe that is something. And I don't want to get on Cedric's back, but there has to be something there that it did look like him and Redmond struggled a little bit to get on the same page. And I don't know. I don't know exactly the role that the two wingers have kind of been given, because we're playing a 4-4-2 where we are, they are required to come back and play defensively as well. And I think both Redmond and Elyounoussi would prefer to be further forward, if I'm completely honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's odd because you've got. I don't actually know how quick Elyounoussi is. I've never seen him in full sprint. He didn't look quick today. So you'd like to think you leave those kind of players further forward to counter someone on the break, especially like Newcastle, where they're a team you're going to have to invite on, because Benitez is not going to tell them to go out and win the game, is he? He's going to say, do not lose this game. And with the side they play, I mean, I think it's an issue that both of them are probably better on the left than they are on the right, because Bertrand and Redmond probably do have that understanding a bit more than Cedric and Redmond do. And it's just a case of, can Elyounoussi be effective on the right? You'd probably say no from what we've seen so far. And that's just one of the many conundrums Mark Hughes has got to deal with, isn't it? They're all over the pitch. You've got pairings and partnerships that you're not sure on.
Yeah. So we go into halftime 0-0. It actually shouldn't be a surprise to us, because I think we've scored one first half goal all season, and then we don't score at home or win at home, so it doesn't matter. And then so you get into the second half, and there was a counterattacking opportunity. Redmond kind of puts it in the area. Austin goes up to knot it down, and it just doesn't fall for anybody. Elyounoussi was there, but he couldn't do any of that. And I just thought there were a couple of instances in the second half where we weren't moving off the ball and trying to open up space, and Lamina was kind of forced to dribble it around there for a little while. Eventually gets the ball taken from him and commits a foul, and he gets up and looks around, and he's just like, somebody has to do something. Somebody has to move. Somebody has to try to get open. Give me a passing lane. And it just, that kind of stuff, it shouldn't happen. We should be, all the players should be hungry, not to shoot, but to get into positions where they can actually get the ball and create something for somebody else, rather than, kind of just standing around waiting for somebody to do something spectacular.
Yeah. And I mean, this is one of my issues with Lamina. Sometimes I think when you're in a position like that, you've just got to play absolutely as basic as possible, rather than try and hold the ball, try and dribble it around 3 or 4, lump it to the corner flag, and look at Ings, Austin, Redmond and Elyounoussi, and just say, look, chase it. If you're not going to give me anything, because he loses the ball, he gives away a foul. And I remember that particular incident because he walked away from the ball, moaning, flicking his arms. They'd taken the quick free kick and he was still walking off moaning. And I'm like, look, focus, get your head in the game, because with a lapse in concentration, we lose 1-0. That's it, game over.
Uh-huh.
I know. So as much as it's up to other people to give him the option, I think sometimes he has to force the issue as well and play it basic. It's not good to watch, and the fans will groan when he lumps it into the corner. I will groan when he lumps it into the corner, but I'll also groan when he gives away a needless free kick.
Yeah,
just inside their half. So it swings and roundabouts, isn't it? But you've got more of a chance of producing something, winning a throw, a corner, if you put them under pressure further up the pitch than conceding the ball.
I mean, there were a couple of other shots. I think Elyounoussi had one where he kind of snatched out a little bit. I mean, I guess he did a good job today of kind of getting into spaces and being able to shoot, because I have several notes in here where he's had shots. It just didn't look crisp when he had it, I guess. I think Stevens had another header. Gabbiadini nearly put a shot out for a throw, which I thought was fantastic. It's just not what I want to see when I've been arguing for him to be in the team. But I mean, at any point, did you really feel like Newcastle were going to score, or they were going to come and take 3 points from us, or was it mostly just, were we going to be able to take all three and not draw?
No, when they brought Rondon on, that's when I went, this is going to be 1-0 to Newcastle.
Yeah, we've seen this before.
Yeah, I was like, I've read this book. That's when I was worried, because we know that Stephen struggles with players of that kind of ilk, the big, strong brutes. And he did pose a threat when he came on. And he had what looked like an opportunity from where I was sat. I haven't watched it over again towards the end of the half. But yeah, I mean, that's probably the only time they ever looked a threat. We definitely had the better of the second half. Like you say, Elyounoussi had a couple. There was one time Danny Ings did fantastically well to dribble through 3 or 4 defenders into the box and then got tackled by Austin, which was incredibly frustrating. And then, Redmond's had an opportunity. But I don't think we were ever under any real threat of losing the game. There's been 1 or 2 opportunities for Newcastle, but I was never sat there particularly on the edge of my seat worried. It's just, you see Rondon and you go, bloody hell.
Yeah. And he's coming back, I think, from injury, so I'm not sure he's fully fit yet, which is good news for us. But I mean, looking at the subs, you go kind of like for like with Gabbiadini coming on for Austin, and then with 12 minutes left, you take Moy off for Long and you stick Long out wide, and then you take Romeu off and put in James Ward-Prowse. And I was kind of wondering what was happening, because Lamina was down grabbing the same knee that he was grabbing last week. As we're pulling Romeu off, and I'm like, are you sure? Are you sure this is what you want to do? But turns out Lamina was fine. Who knew? He might have been down, not actually injured. And then, I mean, but looking at those subs, is there some intent there to go get 3 points, or is it not enough?
They're questionable, I think, the order of them, because everyone knows Shane Long can't play out wide. Absolutely everyone knows that. We've seen it for 2 years now. He was being pushed out wide under Pure and then under Pellegrino. So I don't feel, and Gabbiadini, I know you said you've been pushing for him to be in the team, but for me, there's just something about him, and he proved it today. He's desperate, absolutely desperate to score, and he's not making the right decisions at all. The amount of shots he had when he could have played, there was one he could have played Redmond in, and one he would have to do was square it to Ings, and Ings probably would have scored because the angle was a bit better for him. But you look at the bench, and what other options has he got, really? Because Gunn's a keeper. Vestergaard, why? There's no need for that. Yoshida warmed up to come on for Bertrand in the first half, but never ended up coming on. Bertrand must have recovered from that. Ward-Prowse, I think he brought on just because he's solid, isn't he? And he put the free kicks and corners in. Armstrong, we're yet to see what he can really do. It's probably I say it's a risk putting him on in a game like this, but it's the best game to make a risk like this, because you can't do that against the City or Liverpool or Chelsea. And then you're left with Long and Gabbiadini. So his options aren't exactly massive. I think the substitutes kind of write themselves. The only thing I would question is Long out wide, but then that means you would have to put Armstrong out wide, I guess.
Yeah.
Or keep Elyounoussi on. So I don't know. We can nitpick his substitutions and his decisions all we want, but we don't see them at training. We don't understand where they feel comfortable playing, where they want to play, because Shane Long will play anywhere.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of him, right? Is he's going to play anywhere. He's going to run hard. Like that's what he's going to do. And
if you said to him, "I want you to play left back for 45 minutes," he'd go, "Sure, boss.
Yeah,
let's do it."
Yeah. And as somebody who was also crap at a lot of sports, but willing to do a lot of stuff, I got a lot of playing time out of that. You get a lot of mileage out of that.
That's it.
And God bless him, because he's made a career out of it. And, and he's honestly, if we went out there and tried to defend him, he'd torch every single one of us. So he's just maybe not torching, Premier League quality opposition, which is, it's something different than you and I providing him some Sunday league, him just running by us constantly.
I don't even play Sunday league anymore, so he's got absolutely everything on me. I'm not fit enough for that. So,
so looking back at it, I think overall this is a game we needed 3 points from. You look at the fixtures going forward, you look at what it does to us. It actually gets Newcastle off the bottom of the table. This is not great. This is not going in a positive direction. For as much as we can talk about performances and we can talk about, needing luck and things like this, like at some point you have to do it, and we're not, and it's bound. Is it bound to catch up with us? Am I just being overly harsh today, or what?
No, absolutely. This was a game we had to win, because it's one of those teams we're battling down there with. That bottom five at the moment, we're all in deep trouble. We probably are the five that are going to be battling for those 2 safety spots over the course of the season. And you've got to beat the other teams involved in it at home, because when we go up to Newcastle later in the season, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be harder than it was today. And if we play like this, then it's not going to be any better. We might get a draw again, but we're probably not going to win if we play like this up at Newcastle.
No, I mean, last time we went to Newcastle, it was 3-0 to them, and Pellegrino got fired. That was last time we went there, so I can't imagine it's going to be easy. And I mean, you look at kind of what Rafa Benitez is able to do with all of the negativity surrounding that club. It's a miracle that he can even get people out there to play. But I asked people for some 4-word match summaries, and mine was just no goals in 5. It's 5 games, no goals. That is not good enough. And just going down the line, we have strikers need to score. Hughes out, coach in, which I think is pretty funny. Mark Hughes goes now. Asset stripped, sold soul, unlaid in a whorehouse, which I don't know if I have to censor that or not, but I'm not going to. Can't buy a goal. What's the point anymore? Can't score, can't win, just not good enough. Do we have strikers? ? Austin out till March. I don't even know where that's coming from. Was Tadic key? Can it get worse? This is the same guy. Should have slept in. Goals are still overrated. Disturbing lack of creativity. AJ, I know you listen every week, but like, man, I asked for 4 words and you gave me like 7 of them, and they're great. Somebody says Ashley out, Hughes out. Had them on the ropes, which I guess is a positive outlook on it. One with the F word in it I can't read. If we can only score, sack Mark Hughes, sorry, and please make it stop. So I wouldn't say that there are very many like kind of positive outlooks there, which I think I understand, because I think people have the right to be frustrated.
Yeah, definitely. There really isn't much positivity there, is there? It's hard to find any positive things here, and it's also, but then at the same time, it's very easy to be overly negative. This isn't the worst situation we've ever been in. This isn't we're not the worst situation in the league. But you will always exacerbate your feelings when it's in a negative manner. So, take all of those with a pinch of salt, personally. It
is easy to be overly negative, but I understand it, based on what people have been dealing with, and what we've been seeing, and the people that show up and go every single week, yourself included. It has to be hard to sit through that and watch that and realize there's just because you don't see a way out. If you don't see a way out, it's easy to start, taking people down with you, I guess. And I think that's where we're at. We could look forward to the Leicester City match, but I'll be honest, this is going to come out just kind of right on the cusp of that. So I don't know if there's much point. But I guess before we answer any questions, do you see us going through to the next round of the Cup, or do you think this is where it stops? And granted, we had to go to Everton last week. We had to go to Goodison Park, and where we hadn't won in forever, and we managed to get through. Do you think we go through now, or do you think this is, this is where it ends?
No, this is where it ends for me, because we're going to rotate. We're going to try and, I think he's going to try and bleed in the likes of Armstrong, give those who haven't had the opportunity an opportunity. I think like Angus Gunn, I reckon Vestergaard and Yoshida will play. Target will come back in. We'll play a weakened team, and Leicester won't, because we know Puel values the Cup from personal experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Vardy's going to need more minutes because he only played 45 today. Although they'll bring Pereira back in because he missed out and our Martin broke his ankle today. So, I think this is the end of it for us.
I mean, you could see our back line being Target, Yoshida, Vestergaard, and Bednarak even,
Yeah, possibly.
And
possibly Stevens at right back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the reason I say Bednarak is because Stevens, played the last 2 games and, or does he go back 3 again? Like, I don't know. I don't know what he's going to do. And I don't know what he's going to do next week at City either. That could be a disaster of a selection, Yeah. God, I don't know. It doesn't look great, but hopefully, hopefully we just play decent. I don't know. I would like to see us go through, but we've had cup runs the last 2 seasons, and it doesn't seem to carry over, and even the prices they're charging for Wembley now to go and watch, it doesn't always seem like the fans enjoy it as much as they should be able to because of some of the limitations that are put on them by things that are outside their control. So I don't know. I hope that for everybody who travels to Leicester midweek, that the game is good and that the team perform and all of that stuff. But I'm not sure that this is going to go much past that either.
No, I mean, I'd like to see them play the same teams today, if I'm honest. I reckon not the same teams today because I don't want Austin in it. But I'd like them to start the same team with Long over Austin. Just, you've got to give them an opportunity to rectify it and get a bit of form. But he won't.
All right, well, we do have some questions. Some of them I think we can answer. Some of them I'm not sure we can. Tim Marshall.
Give it a go.
Tim Marshall, who is on Twitter at Tim J. Marshall. He's been on the show before. And I have to say, he was super kind when I was in London. We went out to dinner with him and his girlfriend, my whole family. And it was wonderful. And thank you, Tim. The only thing was on the way walking there, we did run into a homeless man being arrested. And it scared the crap out of all of us. And it was because they were like bringing him down some stairs and then out of a door that was directly at the bottom of the stairs. And it just got, I don't know. Things happened so quickly, and I was not quite ready for that. But it's okay.
To London.
Yeah, hello. In the financial district, I think too. It was, or the big tall buildings. No cell reception. Was great. But anyway, he says the eternal question is it the manager or the players or both? I listened to the Solent phone in. And everyone seems to think there's a magic formula that will solve things. It's basically start Long and Gabbiadini with things, or one or the other with things. Start Armstrong, etc. But he doesn't think there is. I mean, I think we've kind of talked about that already. But I'm not sure what to do at this point. If you pointed out that we hadn't scored since the Long Ings partnership broke up, but I think there has to be something deeper than just we're not starting the right people, right?
Yeah, it is the eternal question. I am not particularly fond of Mark Hughes. I wasn't when he first joined. I don't think he deserved the job in the first place, even on a temporary basis, let alone a permanent contract, and kept us up. But at the same time, we brought him in because he was going to make us play more attractive football, which it might not be more attractive. It definitely is more attractive than the Pellegrino. Even if it's by an absolute smudge, it is more attractive. Everyone knows a stat. We created the 3rd most chances in the Premier League behind City and Chelsea, but we got the 2nd worst conversion. That was before previous rounds of games probably changed. Now Cardiff have scored a few. So we're definitely creating the chances, and that kind of lends itself towards the blame being on the forwards and the players not finishing the chances. Mark Hughes isn't the one kicking the ball in the back of the net. He's given them a plan to go out and create the opportunities for them to put the ball in the back of the net. So he's almost doing his job to that extent. But you do feel, could someone else motivate the players in a different way? There's so much psychology and science that goes into football now. Us mere mortals will never fully comprehend it. We can only look at what we see and what we feel and what we read. But yeah, you can't answer it. But I think, from my point of view, it is both. It's both. But the goals is the player's fault because, like I said, Hughes hasn't got his boots on anymore.
If we look at the number of shots we've had, if this looks like it's updated as of today. It's 113 shots from open play. And our expected goals just from open play is 9 basically. And I mean, we've only got 6 in there. So maybe that says something about just the nature of our strikers just not being clinical enough, whatever it is. But I mean, we all complain when we see them finishing shots in training. So maybe they've stopped doing that completely and maybe they should go back to it.
Yeah. Well, you look at today, 22 attempts, 4 on target. How is that Mark Hughes' fault? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That was one of those things that I had kind of highlighted to myself to talk about. Over on Instagram, where it's another place people can answer or leave questions. We have this guy who's the average footballer, and he says, I post average football related memes. Follow me if you like to play football. Thanks. So
no,
that's not at all related to something that actually is probably more positive to talk about than what we have here. The next one is from Chris_graphics. He says, so we have the 3rd most shots in the league with yet only 6 goals. We talked about this. What is going wrong with our finishing? Do we have a plan to improve it? Can you improve it? Or is it just a talent problem? And he also says that he was there, for the Saints Newcastle match where Mark Hughes scored in 4-2 win. And he says, what's happened to these 2 previously high scoring teams? And I think if we just look at Newcastle for a second, that team has just been decimated, if you look back just a couple of years, they were finishing in the European places and then they got relegated and now they're back and they're a complete disaster of a team. So they have no talent. They can't hold on to players. They're a mess. They're not being invested in at all. As for us, we've gotten rid of a lot of players as well, but I'm just not sure if it's a personnel thing or if it's you have all of these ideas from so many different coaches over the past couple of seasons coming in and trying to change things or whatever it is. But from your perspective, what are your thoughts on the issue, I guess?
I think it's an issue not just with us, not just with Newcastle, but with probably 12 to 13 teams in the Premier League. I was actually speaking about this just before I came on with some friends on WhatsApp that everyone begs for that 15-goal striker, don't they, to kind of provide the entertainment, provide the goals for the team. But how many teams have a striker that scores 15 goals in a season? The top 6 and Leicester. You'd say, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that's it.
You're then competing with 13 other teams to sign a striker who's going to score you 15 goals. And the chances are, if you're a team that's going to sign that striker, one of the top 6 will take him as a backup and pay him more than you will play first team football.
Right.
So the money being spent is creating such a divide, and it is getting worse. There was a point maybe 3 years ago where it looked like the league was getting closer and closer in terms of quality, but I think Leicester winning the league has just absolutely torn that to shreds.
Yeah. And
we're just getting blown out of the water now. And it's another topic, but it's lending itself towards an elite European league and an English league.
Yeah.
Come the future.
Yeah, I think that, when you talk about finding that striker who can score you that many goals, you basically have to pluck this guy out of some 2nd or 3rd division in Europe somewhere where nobody else is scouting and get lucky, and I think
Liverpool are going to sign him. So.
And I think the black box has done well over the years to find those types of players that kind of fit certain molds. But now I think that I think everybody's scouting those places, and everybody can pay the money we can pay, or more. And we have spent a ton of money on players. I think our squad is something like the 13th most expensive squad in the world or 18th most expensive squad in the world. And it doesn't buy happiness, I guess. It sure as hell doesn't buy goals. But I guess just real quick before we kind of wrap this up, obviously nobody was happy with Pellegrino last year. A lot of people said Puel needed to go, even after the finish that we had. It obviously wasn't working out. He goes. I think we miss on the replacement with Pellegrino, but through his first 10 games, any idea who had more wins, Hughes or Pellegrino? I don't know if you remember.
It has to be Pellegrino.
It does.
Surely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Hughes we have the 1 win. So Pellegrino had 3. Both had 4 draws. 5 losses for Hughes and 3 for Pellegrino. Win percentage is basic math, 10% win percentage for Hughes so far, 30% for Pellegrino. Points, 7 points for Hughes. Pellegrino had us on 13. What about goals for? Who do you think scored more goals? R6 under Hughes or what under Pellegrino?
Trying to think what happened it's got to be under Pellegrino because we beat West Ham 3-2 first game of the season.
That's right.
That's pretty much all the goals there. So
9 goals in 10 games under Pellegrino. So not a ton, not great, but only conceded 10, whereas now we've conceded 14. So goal difference under Pellegrino was -1 or -1. Hughes is -8. And what position were we in? Do you think it was better than the 16th we're currently in, or do you think Pellegrino had us in or around there?
We must have been kind of 11th place.
10th place.
Points at this stage, yeah.
10th place. And I'm waiting to see exactly how things wind up. But I'm willing to bet that it's about, I've gone through and done the average position for each team. So at the end of week 10 of last season, I went through and kind of put down where all of our opponents were in that week, the 10 that we had played so far. And the average is 11th. So we'll see kind of where everybody else is at this season. I'm willing to bet that it's going to be just around there, especially with Newcastle having moved up a place. And I don't think we played Huddersfield yet. So yeah, I think it's going to be just about the same type of level of opposition and not a good start. So I don't know what that says. I don't just like to complain. I don't like to just point out, hey, this means he has to go or anything like that. But I think the time is coming where a decision is going to have to be made because the issues that have kind of plagued us over the past couple of seasons aren't going away.
Yeah, but then that's exactly what we were saying about Pellegrino after getting Puel sacked. This is the issue, isn't it? We keep hounding out managers and they're getting worse and worse and worse. I think you just have to appreciate what you've got. I'm not for 1 second saying that I'm happy with Hughes and the way it's going, but it has got progressively worse, and you kind of begging for a change, and change isn't always good. It pains me to say this, but we're turning into West Ham. We are turning into West Ham. Even the fan base doesn't. This is going to sound harsh because it is, but as a fan base, as a collective, from what I see online, we don't deserve better than what we're getting at the moment. The way we talk, the way we act, the way we berate players, the way we berate the manager. We don't deserve any better than what we're getting at the moment. But so it's hard. It's really hard because there are some good people out there. There's some very, very good people, and there's some very bad people. But when it comes to the berating of managers and players, you've just got to, like I say, appreciate what you've got because it's only going to get worse. I fear. Who do we get in if Hughes goes? There's one name being pumped about. That's Jardin. No chance.
Right.
I can tell you that now.
No.
Absolutely no chance. Especially when you've got the potential of Mourinho going, the potential of Pochettino going to Real Madrid, Tottenham and Man United potentially looking for managers. We're looking at Alan Kirbishley next. That's what we're looking at.
Maybe when you're doing all that writing for Prost down in the Championship or the League One, maybe you start scouting some managers.
Yeah, just be careful what you wish for. That sort of stuff.
That's it, man. I'll be honest. This has been a hard podcast to do. I got it. To be honest, I've been sick all week. I have a ton of stuff going on at work. I have. I was explaining to you. I have this will already have happened, so I can say it. Like, my dad is a huge Dodger fan. I managed to get tickets for the World Series on Sunday. I'm trying to talk to him. He didn't answer my call. I texted him and was like, hey, do you want to maybe watch the game with Jack and I tomorrow, which is my son's name? And then I wanted to tell him, like, I want this to be kind of a surprise. He's going through some stuff. I was like, this will be good. And he's just like, can't do it. Sorry. Like, thanks. Love you. Talk to you later. And it's like, no. Like, I need you to, like, I need a little bit more. Like, I need you to now respond to my text or answer my call. And he's not. So, I got all this stuff going on. And then, I think all of us kind of just sometimes just want
Saints to be the escape. And right now it's not. And it's not for me. It's not, I don't think for many people going to the game or going to the stadium or following them away. I don't think it is that escape. It's not providing that enjoyment. And that to me, I think is the most frustrating thing, because I think one of the things that drew me to the team was the fact that I could watch and enjoy the type of football that they played. And now it's hard to do that. And it's hard to do that when the results aren't there. And when you have this kind of cloud of negativity kind of just hovering around over and over and over.
That's it. I mean, on the escapism thing, you're spot on. That's exactly what football is for a lot of people. Everyone's got stuff going on. No one's life's perfect. And I will point you now, a nice little plug, to a piece by Ryan Conway, one of the Prost editors, who went through some dark times in his life too, and has written a piece on how sport and football got him through them. And he's come out the other end passionate about sport, about life, and plans to grow himself within the sports journalism industry. So I'll link you, I'll show you that, and then if you could share it about, because it's definitely something good to read and it gives you a bit of perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
What football and sport is.
We'll make sure we tweet it out, and then we'll put it in the show notes too for anybody who is listening and wants to do it. So you just be able to click on it straight from your phone or wherever you're listening. I don't know.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Sorry, one more thing. Just that we do, as a fan base, we do appreciate everything you do for us in terms of entertainment, because you do a cracking job with the podcast, and we appreciate the work you put in, despite all the stuff you got going on as well. So yeah, thanks for that. I
appreciate that very much, man. The best part of this is talking to you, talking to everybody else. Like that is the most fun, and the more I can remind myself, like that's the reason I do it, and not for anything else, then my life is a lot better for that. But I appreciate you doing it tonight for your time instead of tomorrow morning, as I was trying to figure out if we were going to get to go to this game tomorrow. I mean, I have 3 tickets for the World Series, so imagine, it's expensive, so I had to find somebody to go. So it'll be fine. And last night, I mean, I don't know if you've been following the series or if anybody has, but in order for the game on Sunday to happen, the Dodgers had to win 1 game. And last night it went 13 innings, which meant it ended Eastern time. It ended about 3:30 a.m., 12:30 Pacific time. And so I fell asleep several times trying to stay up for it. I think my wife spilled red wine in the bed trying to watch the game. So God knows, like we're a disaster, but I love her anyway, because she's probably going to listen to this. So sorry I talked about you. But yeah, Connor, I just appreciate you doing this, and hopefully we'll do this again, and hopefully under better circumstances. But I feel like I say that every week now. So.
Yeah, it's all right. We'll get promoted next season.
Then I'll be the one asking everybody for streams.
That's good.
I get a lot of messages who say, "Hey, you got a stream for the game?" It's like, yeah, here. So that'll be me next year. But anyway, man, thank you so much. And for anybody, once again, they can find you on Twitter. They can find Playmakers on Twitter @_Playmakers FC. They can find you on Twitter @Conor Dunford 1. Once again, links to all those in Prost are in the show notes and the article that you mentioned by one of the editors there. So that's all there. Connor, thanks. You were great. I'm off to dress like I don't know what my wife is going to make me dress up as for this birthday party, and it's going to be a great time.
Well, thank you very much for having me. Yeah, enjoy that. Enjoy your fancy dress.
Yeah. This is one of those things. This is a good like cultural moment here. You call it fancy dress.
Mm-hmm.
We call it costume. Like, do you use the word costume? No.
So I don't know, actually. I guess when you're talking about it objectively like that, like what you do, I'm going to a fancy dress party. That's why it's fancy dress.
So if I was coming over there, like if we were talking and you said, "Hey, you're coming over here, you're flying over here, make sure you bring, like we're going to a fancy dress party," I would bring a suit. I would show up to your fancy dress party in a suit because that's fancy dress.
Oh, yeah. No, see, I said, we're going to a fancy dress party, bring your costume.
Okay. That might be the most beneficial thing I've learned all day. Because it's there are some of those things that happen when I listen to other shows and stuff like that, where they say things and it's like, it takes me, from the context, you can kind of piece it together, but it takes me a long time to kind of get there. So, just glad to throw that out there in the open. So anyway, I don't know what I'm going to be. Last time I went to one of these, I was Stone Cold Steve Austin. I thought I was going to look super cool, and I just instead looked like somebody from the Village People. So I don't think I'll do that again. But
I read something the other day about Stone Cold. I was listening to a podcast, and someone was like, the only person in the world who needs to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame is the guy who used to chuck Stone Cold his beers. And it was a highlight reel of Stone Cold Steve Austin receiving beers, like live, and they land in his hand every time.
They do.
No matter where it's from, other side of the ring, you can't even see this bloke, and he's launching beers into his palm.
Yeah. That guy's
what a legend.
True. And always the same type of beer. And I don't know. It's impressive for sure. Maybe that guy, there's got to be like some like seedy YouTube documentary on that guy and how his life's just gone downhill.
I've got nothing to do tonight. I might find it.
We'll just pump that into the podcast feed next time. Anyway, thanks, Connor. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening. See ya.
See ya.
And that does it for this episode of the Southampton Delivery Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed it. Special thanks this week goes out to Conor Dunford. You can find him on Twitter at Conor Dunford1. You can listen to Playmakers FC, which he runs at _Playmakers FC. It is available to listen to anywhere you listen to podcasts, and you can find more of his writing at ProstAmerica.com. Obviously, I sound less sick than I did when I talked to Connor. I did my best to be sure I was well by the time that we recorded, but it just didn't work out. So next week I should be back to normal. And if it doesn't bother you, great. If it does, I'm sorry. Like I said at the beginning, hopefully it wasn't too melancholy. Hopefully you found something in there that to think about, something to chew on maybe. But overall, it was just a really nice opportunity to talk to Connor, even though the game was disappointing. So if you have the opportunity to spend time with someone that you love, you should make that time. I think that's where I'm at right now. Going to that game yesterday with my dad, my son, was the best thing I think that I've done in a really long time, and I can't say anything else about it. So the partners of the show are the Southampton Page. You can find them on Twitter at Southampton Page, also on Instagram and Facebook. They do a great job of putting out a lot of content around the club, so you should follow them and do that so you don't miss it. The artwork for the show is done by Matt Beeling of the We Are Southampton page on Instagram. For all your matchday edits, polls, competitions, and more, be sure to check out the We Are Southampton page on Instagram. All music for this show comes courtesy of the Free Music Archive at freemusicarchive.org. The intro song is Epic Song by Boxcat Games, and the intro credits that you're listening to right now is Aim is True by Poddington Bear. If you want to follow this show, you can do so at SFCDELL_IVERY on Twitter and Instagram. We're also on Facebook at facebook.com/SFC Delivery. You can also listen and subscribe to this show wherever you are listening to this show right now. I know it's kind of there, but subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. If you're enjoying it, leave a rating, share it with a friend. All of that helps. And until next time, remember that together, we march on.